meeting to order, the Wareham Finance Committee. It is Wednesday, June 26th, 6:30 p.m. We do not have our secretary this evening. She is at another hearing for something on a personal issue. And so I would appreciate if someone could keep notes. And the roll call present is David, Jerry, Bernie, Pat, Stuart, and Tom. We have a quorum, so we'll continue. Are there any citizens who are participating? And in a moment, I'll receive a motion to approve the minutes for May 29th.
So
Stuart makes a motion. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded by Jerry. Any corrections or changes? On the motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. Unanimous. Okay, moving on, Finance Committee matters. We have a new member who will take up his role starting July 1st. Joseph Smith. Jody is his nickname, as he'd like to.
childhood nickname has stuck with me for almost 70 years.
Okay, Jody, would you care to introduce yourself then?
Yeah, Jody Smith. I just moved down recently from Stoughton. I'm a retired Teamster. I'm a retired town worker. I ran a department in the town of Stoughton. After 2 years, I got on the finance committee in Stoughton. I was a town meeting rep. I served on the finance committee in Stoughton for 3 years. And I was a conservative voice on that, I might add. One of only a couple. It's a much bigger committee than what you folks have down here. There was 16 on that committee. So it could be a challenge sometimes, but it all worked. It all worked. And the funny thing is, when I moved down here, after being a department head in finance, I said I'm not getting involved in any of the politics or anything else in Wareham. Well, time passes by and things change, and people talk to me, and I says, you know what? I think I'm ready to jump back in again. So this seemed like the logical place with my background. So, and I will add, I've totally enjoyed Wareham, living down here.
Change the whole room on
Yeah, but I think Wareham's been a great town. It's been a great experience since I've been here. But you hear the usual complaints, no matter where you live.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's just nature of the beast. So I will be joining come the 1st of July. Here I am. I just wondered, I didn't make any of the meetings during the winter. I actually, moving to Wareham, I figured I had to learn about the ocean, so I took a Coast Guard course. Learn about boating and things like that, and I have since purchased a boat which I said I would never own. But so yeah, they just happened to be on Wednesday night, and they ran for 2 months. So,
Well, welcome.
So thank you for having me.
Look forward to you joining us. And you served on the Stoughton committee, and I served on that committee also when I lived in Stoughton. So look forward to having you as a president.
Yeah, a little different process and all, but it's at the end of the day, it's all the same.
Great. And also, Glenn has just joined us. And Glenn, am I correct, did you just finish your master's degree?
Second master's degree.
Your second? What are you, up for punishment or something?
I
don't see any paint on your hands.
No, it's,
Huh?
No paint or ink on my hands today. I got cleaned up very nice before coming to the
he
meeting.
scrubs up well.
Yeah, it's a second master's. My first one was an MBA. This one was in government and public policy.
Oh.
Uh-oh, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I was thinking that myself. But apparently he's moving into a new house in Friday of this week.
Yeah, we closed on a house this past Thursday. We are living on Cranberry Highway now.
What number?
2337, there's a Italian seafood restaurant right down the street from us, Bell's or
Oh,
something.
yes.
I mean, we're just past Walmart a little ways, so
Good.
it's a pretty nice deal. The house is about 120 years old, but completely remodeled on the inside, completely brand new. I wouldn't have known the house was that old if they hadn't told me that it had been there that long. Right about a half acre, so perfect for us. I guess you're stuck with me for a while now, at least.
Wonderful, wonderful. We can all go down Friday, sit at the other side of the road and watch them over there and say, if you need.
Watch my son-in-law and kids. That's
Yeah.
what
If you need help, we know someone you can call.
I just delegate, is all I do.
But great, congratulations. You know, also, David at different nights and I have attended the Wareham Redevelopment Authority workshops that they had. We found them extremely interesting, and Richard was enthusiastic about coming to our meetings, so needless to say, I took him up on it, and welcome, Richard, and you have the floor.
Okay, for those of you that don't know me, I am Richard Swenson. I am the citizens representative on the Wareham Redevelopment Authority. I'm going to talk a little bit about who the Redevelopment Authority is. We gave a workshop on May 30th and June 1st, and I want to go through that. I'm going to be doing this with the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Planning Board also. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And in full disclosure, I was just recently appointed an associate member of the Planning Board. So I'm sticking my nose in all kinds of places it's not supposed to be. But
Excuse me,
anyway,
Richard, who else is on the redevelopment authority with you?
I'll get there.
Okay,
So I'm going to quickly go through that. I have a lot of slides, and some of you know, but I'm going to try to go quick. Who is the WRA? It was created in 2017 at Springtown meeting. It had to get incorporated through the state. We are authorized by Mass General laws. We run under Chapter 121B. And we replaced the CETA board, for those of you that remember that, Community Economic Development Authority, which was a 7-member all-citizen, I believe, except for Peter, who was the chair of it. Who are we? We're 2 selectmen, Peter Teitelbaum and Mary Bruce, the town administrator, the director of planning and development, Ken Buckland, and myself. So I'm the only non-employee or elected person, if you will, on the board. So what we did in terms of our overall plan, we went to FXM Associates over in Marion, Frank Mahady, and he runs a consulting firm for towns, and he put together an economic development strategy. We call it the EDS. In doing so, we held 2 focus group sessions with FXM, with town officials, business and community leaders. We had one over at Rosebrook, and we had one at the Glen Cove Hotel in Onset. And this EDS report, and I have hard copy for everybody here. It's a big report, all right? It has data, it has analysis of that data, and then it has a strategy. The first 2/3 of it I consider to be not subjective at all. It's just data. And at the end, there's some recommendations and strategies that were recommended for us to consider. So the full report's available online at the Redevelopment Authority website, and this presentation's also there. So, executive summary. We are behind the county and state averages in wages, income, workforce education, and housing values. We do, however, exceed county and state average growth averages in population, number of households, and jobs. So this whole beginning of this is going to really try to put a stamp on who Wareham is and what makes it up. So with that, we'll know what we're getting into. Now, our indicators are slowly improving, and there are opportunities for growth. But clearly there are issues holding us back, and we're going to talk about some of those. Specifically, lack of industrial space. We've run out. We have very little mid to high-end rental housing. We'll talk more about that. This is a hot one for me personally. Lack of commercial flex space, and we'll talk about that. Commercial residential mixed-use space. We don't have much of that either. And these are things that Frank and FXM Associates pointed out are in demand. and we can't satisfy the demand. And clearly, we don't have a lot of mid to high employment opportunities, and the data will really point that out. And we have a lot of derelict and eyesore properties all over town. So let's look at some of the, and please stop me anytime, and I'll do my best to answer, and if I can't answer it, I'll take it down and I'll get you an answer.
Are there state numbers in there where you say that we're below, where we're below and where we're over? Is that in the?
I'm gonna show you some
Yeah.
here, and it is in the report.
Okay.
So here's a good example. Population growth, faster than county and state. Wareham's at 6, county's at 4, state's at 5. Not a big difference, but significant. We're growing. More people are coming here. Significant growth in age 55 to 74 household in all incomes. And a loss of households in age 45 to 54 and incomes less than $108,000 a year. This is very telling to me personally. That was a real eye-opener. And here's the data. These different colors are the different annual wage incomes for the households. And you can see age 45 to 54 right here, we're losing people. And this is projected from 18 to 23, 2018 to 23. But look at the growth on age 55 to 74. Significant growth. And moderate growth down on the younger side. But we're losing the prime people at the prime of their wage earning capability. And we're starting to pick up empty nesters and retirees.
Is there any conclusion as to the children that will be in school because of this graph?
No, I'll be honest, we specifically steered away from the whole education issue. I'll just be blunt, personally, I find it, you quickly go right down that rat hole and stay there for a long time. So, and while it does impact economic growth, good school system will be a bigger draw than a bad school system, we don't talk to it. So.
We get into a discussion of why that 45 to 55 group is decreasing.
Did we get into it? No, not really.
All right.
I mean, I conjecture about it a lot, and I talk to people about why is that happening, and it's just conjecture at this point.
If you look at the wages and job opportunities, maybe that's part of it.
I believe it is. This is prime, that 45 to 54, that's prime earning time, when people are at their best and trying to establish their careers and their families for the long haul, and they can't do it here. That's my personal opinion. All right? So they go somewhere else to do it.
Right, so correct me if I'm wrong, if I remember reading it right, it seemed like the 3 primary job segments here were the first.
I'll get there. That's all right?
Yeah, go right ahead, if you got it on the slide.
Housing values are much lower than county and state medians. We're 32% below county and 34% below state. Our values are increasing at a higher rate than the county rates are. But here's 2 very interesting ones. We have 10% of our housing is valued at less than 100K, where the county average is only 5. We're double. We have twice as many houses under $100,000. And we have half as many houses over $400,000, 22% versus 44. This is Wareham versus Plymouth County.
Now, in the percent under 100K, is that factoring in all the trailer parks and like we
No,
have, because they
no.
classically are under 100?
No, the mobile homes are not included there.
Not included in that stat, okay.
I didn't know that. Frank answered that at the workshop, but mobile homes aren't included. They're considered vehicles. This one here surprised me. Owner occupied. We're 77% in Wareham, 76% in the county, 62% in the state. I'm trying to get some more clarity on that. Does that mean someone who lives here in the summertime and rents out for the wintertime, does that count or does it not? I don't know the answer to that yet.
or at least how it's factored in.
Pardon me?
At least how it is factored in.
Yeah, exactly. So here's your owner occupied chart and your median value. I would have thought the rental would be a lot higher, but I think that 24% that isn't owner occupied is trying to highlight 24% of the homes in Wareham are full-time rental units. Full-time being the key word. So let's look at wages. We're significantly lower, county and state. We're 20% lower in county, 40% lower in state. And that's driven by, significantly driven by retail, accommodation, and food service jobs. This is where you
Right, those were two of the three main sources of employment.
We generally lag behind the state wages for all industries, and here's some data that will show you that. Professional tech services, finance and insurance, manufacturing, information, and real estate are the ones that we are significantly lower. Blue is Wareham, orange is state, green is, orange is county, green is the state. And you can see we're half of the state numbers.
Yep.
So our incomes are lower. The good news is the disparity is getting smaller. This was very encouraging to me. In 2006, we were running at a 73% of the county number, and last 2 years ago we were at 83%. That's a 10% increase, and that's very significant. The data also shows is that we don't have the education level in our workforce for the higher paying jobs. But Glenn can fill all that in now, right?
Is Wareham doing better or is Plymouth County doing worse?
I'm sorry?
Is Wareham doing better or is Plymouth County doing worse? As a result, we
I
are
don't know.
catching up.
I don't know. That's a good question, though. Oh, so here's a chart. It shows you the average household income and the median household income. The median being lower, which indicates that the high end, there's some very large numbers on the high end of incomes. So job growth. This is one of the positive ones. Our job growth rate is at 24% versus 14 and 15 in county and the state. But again, except for healthcare, it's driven a lot by the low-paying jobs.
What time frame is this over? The growth, is that over that same,
Hold on.
okay, 6 and 16? All right.
So Frank was very clear that he had me include manufacturing. I'd initially highlighted retail trade, lodging and food services, and healthcare. And he said, highlight manufacturing too. He strongly believes there's big opportunities there. And we'll talk about that a little bit. So market conditions, office space. This is an interesting one. Office space demand is increasing. We don't have high-end office space to offer. What's called Class A, premium. There's shared office space for people who work at home and need to go into an office twice a week for teleconferencing or fax services or print services, or shared office. Those are becoming very popular and in demand, and we don't have any. Industrial space, our available space is not growing. I talked to a lot of people, and some people think there's lots of industrial space available, and the numbers I'm being told is 85 to 90% full right now. 10% empty is not unusual. The demand is rising, our vacancies are decreasing.
Is that zoning or some other issue that they have to look at, or is the land there?
It's right here. The current, land's available, but the current market, you gotta think about this one. Current market leasing rates can't support new construction costs. What that means is if I go buy the land and I go build the building, for me to, what I have to charge to make it a profitable enterprise for me is too much for the market right now. And I won't get any renters to come take my space.
Interesting.
Also, we have a great deal of farmland that is classified as farmland, but it's bogs, and then there's a supporting structure around it for water, et cetera. So although we see a lot of open land, it's farmland, which is very cheap in terms of real estate taxes. And it appears open, but it's not available for construction, for industrial uses.
But to your question, yes, there is land available that would need to be rezoned or need a variance to go in there, but I don't really think that's the showstopper that we need to worry about right now. So, that's my opinion. I gotta be real clear, a lot of things I'm saying are my opinion, but the stuff I'm trying to show up here is right out of the report,
Yes.
all right? Flex space. Flex space is smaller, white box type space that could be used for almost anything, from light manufacturing, distribution, office space, lab space, anything like that at all. Again, this is becoming very popular. The demand is growing, we don't have very much available. Now, this is an interesting one that I struggle with a lot, the retail data. Steady demand and an opportunity to capture leakage, and leakage is defined as when Wareham residents have to go outside of Wareham to buy something, because they can't buy it in Wareham. That's defined as leakage. The analysis that FXM did said that there's a demand, and we could put stores in to capture some of that.
Where do they get that demand for retail space? Where's that number coming from?
I'd have to look in here to see where he got it from. I think he does a demand analysis is what he's called it, but let me look in there later, all right?
Amazon is killing retail.
Oh, sure. I take more cardboard to the dump than I do garbage, so. So this is a statement that really caused me some pause. We have low vacancy rates of viable and available retail space. And I said to myself, God, I can take you to countless places that are there. And I talked to Frank about it, and he said the measurement is against viable and actively being marketed retail space. There's a lot of retail space that isn't being marketed right now. There's empty buildings anywhere. No one's making any effort to try to rent them out because they're not rentable. You know, they're not warm lit buildings or cold dark shells, whatever you want to call them. They need a lot of work and they can't be rented out in condition they're in.
Indeed, along Cranberry Highway, there's a lot of old structures along that cannot serve what the current retail operation wants.
Right.
And so they're sitting there dormant.
And,
you know.
and they don't count.
Right.
And it amazes me, people are paying property taxes on them, and they just sit there. It boggles my mind sometimes, but I'm naive, so. What I do know, though, is that the big box stores in the malls are generally full. And as I just mentioned, smaller individual retail and commercial properties aren't being actively marketed. I mean, look at I guess it's an old pharmacy and an old bakery up on, you know, it drives me crazy every time I drive by there.
Well, the pharmacy has potential.
That's gonna be a gas station, right?
No, further down is a gas station.
Right next to Maxi.
Maxi's gonna be the gas
Yeah,
station.
but that whole area is gonna get turned into retail.
Maxi Gas is going away and they're putting in a
Huge, big multi-pump operation.
big, something like this, the Subway Dunkin' Donuts mobile across
Kind of
the
the seasons, or Cumberland's the equivalent of Cumberland.
Yep.
Rental housing. As we talked about, under 35 and over 55 to 75 is growing. The rates are declining. Our rents are increasing. And the average is 1477. And that's important. We're not meeting the demand right now. There's a significant gap in the mid to high-end market base. I mean, not subsidized, but high-end, mid to high-end apartments. The ones behind,
Rosebrook?
pardon me?
Rosebrook?
Rosebrook, come to mind now. When those first went in, my wife and I eat at the Japanese restaurant once a week. And we sit right by the window, and we always counted the cars in the parking lot, you know? And at the beginning, there weren't any cars in there. And I'm, what are they doing? And I looked up the rents. The minimum rent's like $1,800 or and the max is like 24, 25, something like that. Mid to high-end apartments. I was there, what day is today? Wednesday? I was there Monday night. I actually have a picture. I took a picture of the cars in the parking lot. It's full. They have really taken off.
Yeah, I think they're a little over 80% now.
Do you know that? 80%?
It's what I've heard, a number I've heard.
You got the beginning, I'm going, this is.
I thought that.
But the parking lot, we were there at 7 o'clock and it was full. So, the demand analysis that Frank's company did, the FXM, supported this, and the mid to high end is more in line with developers' business models. And what that means is you make more money when you sell a high-end product. You know, when you buy a Toyota with the base price and that's all you buy, they're not making any money. They're making all the money on the options that you put on granite counters, stainless steel, the extra bathrooms, all this stuff. That's where developers make their money. That's why it's hard to get them to build low-end housing or low-rent housing. They don't make any money on it. That's why the state has programs out there to incentivize them to do that. It's the only way that gets done. So, these are what I'm going to go through now are opportunities that were identified by FXM Associates. And they focused on 4 areas: Wareham Village, the industrial space, Route 6 and 28, and Onset Village. Some of these I agree with, some of them I don't. You can make your own judgment. They call out doing an urban renewal plan in Wareham Village, elimination of derelict buildings, cleanup of building and lots, and creating Wareham Village as a destination in conjunction with Tremont Nail. Pretty high, lofty goals, if you will. This is a big one, but to do rezoning. Rezoning to allow higher density and height allowances, mixed use. Everyone know what mixed use? 4-story building with retail on the bottom, office space on the 2nd floor, and apartments on 3 and 4. See that downtown Boston, that's how they all are. The retail's on the 1st floor, office space on the 2nd, apartments on the
Except
way
you
up.
gotta go 10 floors up, you can't,
Some-
you gotta get higher. The land is the problem, and Boston is a horrible situation. They go 5-story buildings, and they need 15, 20-story buildings.
ZBA is talking about right now a density article for Springtown meeting to lower the density, to your point. Right now you need 10,000 square feet to build. You gotta get that smaller so we can get more units on a smaller footprint in the villages, right? I'll show you, the Baker property is a good example. Everyone know where I'm talking about?
Yes.
I'll show you a picture. And we gotta prioritize the parking down there. But to do this, this is the magic bullet. Private investment incentives. How do we incentivize builders to come to build, developers to come develop? It may take payments instead of taxes programs. It may take deferred tax programs like we did with Stone Path Mall, things like that. We're going to have to invest as a community, in my opinion. This is my opinion. We're going to have to invest to get people to come here and do the kind of things which are going to have the long-term value for us. A lot of people do it.
I think the incentives is the key, because you could easily, let's say, you have a program, 3 years, everybody who joins it gets 25% off their first year, but they have to make the property developable. That is,
Sure.
they clear it or whatever.
Sure.
If they do it in the second year, you get another, continue with the 25%, but they have to continually improve their property. By the 3rd year, they have to have it on the market and sold. If they fail to do that, taxes are retroactively, so you can
Sure.
continue to incentivize them but you have to continue with that property to initially make it developable or attractive to somebody.
I agree. Industrial space. This is an area I didn't really agree with that much because it focuses on updating the existing parks by extending the utilities into all the different buildings that are already there, extending sewer into some of the newer and undeveloped industrial properties that we already have, as industrial properties. And promote Kendrick Road, this is where Stone Path is, as a food cluster, based on that they do malt, candy, and croutons up there. I'm struggling with that one.
But all of our industrial parks, or basically our industrial parks, are one-level buildings.
Yes.
The one-level metal buildings that were probably built in the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a little bit behind the curve on that.
We are. This is a big one. In my mind, Wareham, and we can talk later about it, but it's 495-25, Route 6, 195. Amazon should have a distribution center right
Right here.
Right at the intersection. FedEx should, UPS, you know, we are primed. We can serve all of southeastern Rhode Island, all of Cape Cod, right here. And I've talked to Ken, maybe we just start writing letters. You know, we are the business-friendly community looking for distribution-type businesses to come here, and we'll write these to Amazon and FedEx and UPS, Wayfair, whoever.
Well,
Yep.
Prime, of course, is Cape, right across the bridge, it's very accessible. But you also have a lot of other areas that, as I say, Amazon, they got a huge warehouse that they've just finished, but they're building satellite warehouses too,
I think we have opportunity.
and write a letter. Off from office space, Amazon.
So Route 6 and 28, we need to market it better with signage and an online presence. Infrastructure, increase the look and the lighting. Everybody knows we're doing the big DOT program starting, I think they're just turning ground this year, aren't they?
Yes.
So that, for me, I kind of wait till that's done. And again, zoning, implement higher density mixed use in select locations. Onset Village, FXM calls for another urban renewal plan for beautification programs, town pier improvements, increased parking options, and again, rezoning for mixed use. In regard to the derelict buildings that are in Onset, they called for the town, their suggestion was township buying and then get rid of them. Sell them as is, if you can ensure that they're done for affordable or to restore and then publicly sell. Personally, I don't like the town in the business of being property owners. I would like to get rid of all the property as fast as I can. And I think most people believe that, but it's a way to deal with the derelicts. And again, private investment incentives.
The difficulty with Onset is you're transitioning from its current scenario of being a beachside area to one that now produces or becomes a community area.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm just going to talk now about what we've been talking about in the WRA, the things that we're talking about trying to do. In the village, we lined up pretty close with the cleanup and the rezoning, but we've been talking a lot about Merchants Way behind. We actually had some people in to talk to us last week about a riverwalk, boardwalk concept that we're going to pursue, but it's going to be very tricky with the railroad track. There's a lot of liability, and the railroad company has to be permissions, and they're very nervous about anything, people crossing their tracks, obviously. Industrial space, we're talking about, to your point, Jody, how do we create more? How do we clean up and eliminate derelict and eyesore buildings up on Route 6 and 28, rezoning again? And in Onset Village, I'll be very honest with you, the Onset Bay Association does a pretty good job down there.
They do.
Think about everything that's going down now, down there. With the new band shell, the new hotel, the Wickets Island, the bathhouse, the pier improvements. All this stuff is going on, and the OBA's involved, if not driving, a lot of these projects. And from from my perspective, they're doing just fine at it, and I don't wanna go try to fix something that's not broken.
No.
And that's my opinion, that's my opinion right now.
Well, I think they're doing a much better job than the town could do.
Oh, exactly right. Now, I've been down to OBA and I talked to them, I actually got their financials, I wanna carry it over to Wareham Village. And I've been meeting with some people there, and we're talking about the things we might be able to do. We gotta reinvigorate Wareham Village Association, they're in the doldrums right now, I feel. That was what we stopped with on the EDS. We did go through some of our current projects, and they're all, right now, Ken Buckland did this, and I'm just gonna go through it real quick. And he's talking about properties. Tremont Nail. We had a presentation last night at the WRA from Union Studios, and they've come in and they're talking to us about the freight building, which is right here, the packaging building, which is right here, the office building up here, the white building. We are not addressing the big main building here at this point. It's a money thing.
What's happening to the dam?
To,
What's happening to the dam?
I don't know. I don't know.
You solve that as number one issue before you want to invest in that area if the dam is a continuing risk.
The last I heard, Tom, and it wasn't recently, was the
You
litigation.
got a lawsuit against the largest developer in southeast Massachusetts between the town and Makepeace.
That's right.
That's crazy.
Well, what they need from Makepeace has said you can do whatever you want.
Just sit down and settle a goddamn thing and get the damn done. I mean, this is years and years of crap. Let's get it done.
I'll take that feedback to Derek.
Don't tell him where it came from.
You're filming it, he already knows.
And
Man, oh man.
here's the most controversial work going on at Tremont. That's the steel building where Organobrands is going in. They're in there right now actively. They've reskinned that whole building,
Yeah.
and it's our building,
Hmm.
you know?
They really want to go there.
Yeah, they want to go there bad.
Yep.
Bay Point, as you all know, Bay Point phases 2 and 3 just got approval. They're moving forward. The new homes are all right now up in this area. Phase 2 and 3 is for over here. That got approved. This is the piece of property the town owns. Phase 4 calls for apartments in here. And we're trying to sell this to Tim Fay and his company right now.
They are doing a very nice development job of it.
It looks great.
It's extremely attractive
It
and
is.
appealing.
Well, some people, I feel that way. There's some people that wish they had a more New England look to it. I've heard that phrase, but I'm just happy they're building.
Indeed.
You know?
And they're not low end either.
No, and a little side note, I talked to Tim a couple times about this. When he was in his concept phases and talking to the local real estate people, they kept telling him not to aim too high. Keep it below 375. Keep it down in that number. That's as high as he can go. And he's selling up in the high 400s. And he's selling to empty nesters who are coming down here and want to walk to Onset Village. And they want the granite counters, and they want the stainless steel. They want the high-end stuff. It goes back to our rental story we talked about before. And Rose Brooks proves it works, you know. And I start thinking about the kind of commerce that a population like that's going to generate, and it's all goodness.
It's all good.
Littleton Drive on the going down Swiss Beach Road. People familiar with it? It's town got it back for lack of payment on taxes. It's 47 lots. A developer had it subdivided into all these lots, and it got abandoned. Town owned it on tax, and we're trying to figure out what to do with it. We're not too far down the process.
Is this the thing that came up in the Springtown meeting, and now somebody stood up and wants to study it for a year before we?
No, that was another one.
That was a different
That's a
one.
different one?
That's a different one.
The WRA, at the town meeting, the deed is being transferred to the WRA. So and the logic behind that is so that a developer can negotiate directly with a body one of the things I learned, if a developer is gonna deal with the town, and they wanna buy this, it has to go through a bidding process. You know, there's no guarantee, you know, but by putting the property into the WRA's hands, then you can have a back and forth negotiation and close a deal. For Recovery Road, right across from Wareham Crossing, people familiar with that? The old daycare for a while.
Yep.
Right now, we're trying to rent it, and we just had a big water leak in there. Now we got a mold problem in there, and I don't know we were in a lot better shape 2 months ago, all right?
Going backwards.
Yeah, and then downtown. So it was fascinating to see the picture of a boardwalk out here with a little pier right here.
Oh, nice.
And
Yes, very nice.
we're doing some work, we're doing some things about how we can utilize the train station for outdoor dining in conjunction with the restaurants downtown.
They'd love it.
You
They'd
know?
love it.
So we're doing that. This is down to, help me, what's the name of the apartments there?
Oh, British Landing.
Yeah, British Landing, right? This is the Baker property, this is that huge amphibian that's out of there now. And there was talk of putting a parking lot for Verilife in here, but this is all cleaned out. And think about restaurants, commercial, office space, apartments down
It'd be a
there.
great place.
Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't
It'd
it
be a
be?
great
It'd be
place.
great.
With Bessie Park right next to it, you don't have to be concerned about green space. Places to walk your dog or kids, or whatever.
So, you're gonna see zoning articles coming. And I don't wanna ever get into I want the articles to be very clear, crisp, well communicated ahead of time. People know what they're getting into, if not learning about them at town meeting. And we've gotta sell these properly in terms of what we wanna do. It's part of the reason why I'm here talking to you guys. I think that we have a draft master plan, and we need to finalize it. We need to get the ZBA, the planning board, and the finance committee, the board of selectmen, and the WRA, all to raise their hands and say, yeah, we buy into that master plan, and we're gonna work together. Right now, the ZBA wants to sponsor an article to loosen the restrictions on marijuana. The planning board wants to put a couple articles in to tighten the laws on marijuana. We're not together right now.
Not together.
And we gotta get together. And I'll be very honest, that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm going to the ZBA, that's why I'm going to the planning board. That's why I'm gonna ask people to start thinking about what Claire Smith calls a Congress, where you have a representative from these boards get together every 2 or 3 months. And where are we going?
Make sure we're headed in the same direction.
Exactly.
As opposed to opposites.
Exactly right. And I think that it's hugely important.
You have to take your time though, because all of these boards can agree, but when you get to town meeting, you don't want to overwhelm them.
I agree.
They're going to be easily confused,
Yep.
and if you're overwhelmed, they're going to be no.
Yep.
So you have to take your time, be
Yeah,
patient.
I go back to the one Dave Requena tried to do on the zoning changes in Onset Village a year ago,
Yep.
with the percentages and everything, and that thing got just so mucked up with amendments to the article. And, you know, at the end, it was, why bother?
Yeah.
But anyway. Industrial space, again, there's land up here, there's land across Route 28 that you could use. And that's how we closed. So I've made my spiel, and it's me, but
What is the prospect for the train coming down here?
Alan Slavin gave a report on that at a selectmen's meeting, I'm gonna say about 6 weeks ago. And it was pretty far out. If it ever happens, it's not gonna happen soon, according to him. I think we missed the,
We missed the route.
yeah, to going to Fall River, right?
That's on
They're
its
going
way,
to Fall River, New Bedford, yeah.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they're not coming here on
Yeah,
that
I
one.
thought he said last night maybe 22 or 23 at the selectmen's meeting last night.
Yep.
I mean, you can call that far out of,
But we're not getting a direct train.
no,
What they're
they
talking-
wanted to go through Middleborough.
Right, so what we would do, what he was talking about is maybe having a train that would go down to Buzzards Bay and Wareham and go from here up to Middleborough. Get off the train, change there, and get on the one to Boston. this would be a spur traffic down here.
But that,
Private,
I have
private,
my own issues with the train, though, coming from Stoughton, not the Stoughton line, none of that, but when they expanded the train out to Franklin, all these other areas, they brought a lot of problems with it. Keep in mind, these trains come out of Boston, and I'm not bad-mouthing Boston, but they come with a whole nother set of issues. I mean, Mansfield, they put up a big development, housing development, right next to the train station.
Yeah, beautiful development.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not so beautiful, it's a nice looking development,
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yep.
But, you know, Franklin, same idea, you
Yep.
know, I mean,
Bring a
Lakeville,
whole different group of people.
it brings a whole different group of people, you're right, you know.
Yeah, remember too, the T does not own the
Thank you,
track.
I'm glad.
The T doesn't own the track. And they have, the owner of the tracks has a priority
We're
as to
missing
whether or
one
not. it's
person,
gonna be-
right?
Yes, thank you.
Dominic.
Has a priority whether or not they'll allow it on their track.
Right,
And of course, it's demographics, people too. Is there enough people to warrant running a train down here? Right now, they got enough problems they can't fix now. I'm not sure how viable it would be to get got down here.
you know, and it's funny, some of these things that were discussed, I kind of gone through coming out from Stoughton, the mixed use they put in a few years ago. And big thing is parking. I mean, it sounds good to put it in an onset, but you gotta put these cars, so, you know, you got bylaws, I'm not sure what the towns are for parking restrictions and things like that. It sets up all kinds of other problems, you know, downtown Wareham's certainly a lot better than Stoughton. But there's been a project in Stoughton Center now, probably 6, 7, 8 years, you know where the fire was. Yeah, he knows what I'm talking about. And it came down to, their bylaw said they had to have 2 parking places per unit. Where they reduced it to a parking lot, a space and a half, and now they're down to a space. And the builder still said, I can't cut out any units, it's not worth me building. This is how many units I need to make it profitable, and that was brought up to. It's gotta be profitable for the guy doing the building.
Got
right.
2-bedroom apartments, but only 1 parking space.
Well, yeah, well, you know, they think the train's gonna bring all that, people commuting into Boston, all that, and the big thing is money.
So, how many people here are familiar with the master plan? You know it's there, you've seen it. Bernie, I went through it and bulletized it, if you will, to the key points. I have a couple page document. If I can, I'd like to send it to you and
By all means, yeah.
and distribute it.
Sure.
But if you take a look at that, it covers a lot more than just economic development. It talks about land use and recreational space and things like that as well. But I think that we need to use that document as our anchor point for all our committees. Get signed up to it. The economic development strategy is just one leg off of that. The WRA is going to, that's our agenda to push, and we're going to do that. And we're going to ask the planning board to get involved. Because I think the planning board should own the master plan myself. And I think if you look at the Mass General laws, it actually says that.
Should.
So that'll be one of my initiatives. Now I'm working with George on his committee. So, but we get aligned, we can start moving, in my mind. And one of the big problems we have, we're not aligned.
No.
And it's going to take a lot of compromise and acceptance and whatnot. That's what we got to do.
I think what we have now is a number of boards, as you pointed out, even Clary referred to what she calls it Congress. All the boards have to get together, and there has to be leadership from someone to force them, if necessary, to say, we have this plan, this is the agenda, this is what we're all going to cooperate with and follow. Because right now, they all have their own agendas, and rightly so. They all have very different responsibilities. But they've all got to understand, for the betterment of the community, they have to be going in the same direction. And I think there's one board, and one board only, that can force them, if necessary, to follow or adopt that agenda and work towards it. And that's what we're lacking, really.
Think the Congress idea is a good one?
Yes, very much so. You have to have everybody on board and everybody talking. And as you're here this evening, excuse me, communicate the information from the WRA. Now, we are aware of what is going on and what you're trying to do. We can buy into that package because we're aware of it, we understand it, we've been able to question it. So from our point of view, we're on board. Everybody should have that opportunity. Now, I'm not suggesting that we take a vote and yes, that we do so, but we
Right.
get the impression that, yes, we follow, we agree what you're trying to do, and we can understand your objectives.
Go ahead.
Tom?
Are you doing any regional reach out to Rochester, Carver, Marion,
Not that I'm aware
South
of.
Plymouth? Huh?
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, I think this is a regional issue as much as just a town issue. And it would be nice if you got a larger group together to understand what the strategy is for the South Coast.
Let me think about that. That's a
Um,
good, that's
You get
interesting.
you can make the picture too big, so no one, you lose your cohesiveness
Yeah.
within the small group, but we should be party too. I have a question though. We're in the real estate, I believe, and it's something I remember that was mentioned in another meeting. We're in a demographic which includes Boston, Brockton, all the way down here. If we were in our demographic as we wanted to, in, let's say, the Fall River, New Bedford area along the coastline, would that have significantly changed the comparisons or the statistics you were dealing with in some of these?
I don't know, but I don't think so. Because it's my understanding, Bernie, that issue about being lumped in with the Boston demographics is only a Section 840B issue.
Okay.
But I'm not, don't hold me accountable to that. But in all our discussions with FXM and in leading up to the report and understanding the report, never talked about that issue. I know the one you're talking about, but I think that was a 40B issue.
Could be, could be. I don't remember the context in which I heard the information.
Okay. Hey, I really appreciate your time. It took more than I meant to, so.
Oh, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Nice enlightening.
Thank you.
Okay, we welcomed a new member. The redevelopment authority, we've done that. Next section, Jerry had asked for, excuse me, a report from CPC as to the amount of money they have in each of their accounts, as to, and also the commitments they've already made that are currently ongoing. Has everyone had an opportunity to review that? And is there any questions? Ask Jerry, as a matter of fact, he's interested.
It's a list that I didn't have 2 months ago, so that's a plus. Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Yeah.
I just needed to see something.
Typically, of course, nothing can be appropriated out of CBC without town meeting approval. Are there any questions on those two documents we have? I was surprised to find the number of projects that are still outstanding.
Yeah, a lot of
And there's some old ones too.
The band shell, if I recall, Eric in passing mentioned at our last meeting that the monies for the band shell was coupled with a grant, and I don't believe we got the grant, my understanding is. There was a competition for it, obviously, so
How much was the grant?
I don't recall. I have to go back into the town meeting, because I think it was last annual. And,
I don't think that's added to that column anyway,
no,
so the 291 doesn't reflect.
Jerry, could you sit down with her and sort of put it into 3 categories across the top? I mean, that's a hard thing to, where she's got them all in a line. You could have the historic and the,
oh, the 3 specific categories that she has.
yeah, well, and just so the thing would roll down and say, here's what we're doing.
Like the columns,
Yeah.
and then the adds and subtracts to each column.
Yeah.
Is there they are required to maintain those 3 accounts and right, there'd be certain things out of
And they-
particular
and they've got a
accounts,
percentage
which
that they-
account it came
yeah,
out of.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a hard, I mean, I got to be adding numbers, subtracting numbers, I got all, which is hard for me.
And the next one is the information articles on the Beacon. I just pulled them out because let's see, the Cannabis Advisory Board voted on February 26th to recommend that the Cannabis Control Commission support social consumption of licenses, that is cafes and the like. And we have an application for just that with, what is it called? Whisk and Jane. Cannabis microbusiness to be, it's going at the old, or possibly the old pharmacy. Up next to the bread place across from the landing. Also, excuse me, Tom has expressed interest in our pension funds, and I believe there's a copy of something in your folder. And Jerry has mentioned it also. And Leominster has fully funded its pension and liability. I think when we get into the annual fall town meeting, we typically appropriate monies from free cash to the pension, subsidizing or over and above what we're required to do to bring us up to 100%. And I think we can delve into more detail with Derek at that time. And we'll go into that, and I'll make sure he's aware of that when we do it.
It's interesting that Leominster's been doing it for 2 decades.
Yeah, it took them a long
Just saying,
while.
it's been a long while.
It's amazing when you think of the figures of the deficits that we have. Because effectively, and I was talking, remember, some months ago with Derek, if we have a new hire, we actually will not promise and can't promise them a pension because we won't have enough money as it stands currently.
The OPEB, you didn't have to declare it until, what, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So you didn't even have to look at it. So a lot of towns did.
Now, we have CPC and pension. Is there anything else any of you would like to take a specific interest in? I'll make sure we have someone and information. If you happen to come up with something later, let me know. We have ample opportunity, excuse me, to get involved in it in the fall meeting, because we don't deal a great deal with the budget and the like.
This is not a fall meeting, this is the water pollution control situation. It came up and I said, I think we ought to walk every damn mile of the thing and get the sense of what condition it's in. Now that we've got Mr. Bailey on top of it, so that we will get some solid numbers, but we ought to. I remember before I was in my previous journey on this board, they had some outside consultants come in that said over the next 5 years they're going to have to spend $20–25 million, and then we had the head of Jim came in and said, oh, well, we don't think we have to do that. But the board is biased because 3 out of the 5 of them are ratepayers. So, and they hadn't changed the rate for 5 years up until this current year.
Yeah.
But if that thing blows up, we have got major problem, and it's a system that we ought to be able to monitor from a control room. I mean, because you've got pumps running, you've got water flowing, you've got all the ways things to control it, and it's coming to a central point. And I don't think we have that. So we can anticipate when needs are going to happen with a given $5,000 pump or $8,000 motor and things of that nature. And I'm concerned that that's a big issue, and if we get floods into the harbor and the bay or something like that, it is just horrible for everything that the town is trying to do.
At our next
in
meeting
terms of
then,
huh?
at our next meeting then, I'll arrange for the chairman of the commission and as well as Guy to come in and see if there's any reports they currently have and we get copies of. okay?
That would
Yeah,
be good.
I mean, but I'm willing to go out there and walk and see and touch, just to get a sense of how realistic it is. I mean, Ellis was in here, he said he couldn't walk down the ladder because the ladder might not hold him, and the guy was afraid he'd go down into the soup. Huh?
Not good.
Yeah.
No.
And Marion just had an overflow into a beach area that they've shut down the beach area
In
for.
fact, they're
3
upgrading
days.
their system.
Yeah.
Marion is as well as
An
Warren,
overflow, yeah.
and they're on both sides of us.
And we're trying to become more regionalized.
Mm.
Have we settled the problem with Bourne? I mean, who owes what?
I haven't heard that we settled that.
Yeah, I mean, let's just,
It's one of those ongoing, but that, I don't fully believe the Warren situation is holding up, if any,
no, I don't think.
improvement to the system itself.
I don't think it is, but these are all issues that are sort of kept in the dark, and they all affect the ratepayers in the end.
We really haven't heard anything recently on the alternate discharge at the canal. We haven't heard anything recently on that.
Yeah, that's a big ticket item.
That's a
gonna come
big
up.
ticket item that has to be,
And I think, when you brought up whether or not T was gonna bring the rail down here, that was an issue, because initially they were gonna do the outfall pipe down to Mass Maritime along the rail bed.
real bad, right?
And I don't imagine if they lay another track, they'll wanna have we would not wanna have that pipe
Well,
underneath it.
apparently there was an issue on the easement where they'd let us do it or something like that. There's,
Yeah. Okay, we'll have them at our next meeting. Next issue, town meeting deadlines, you have the new dates in front of you. The last day for the articles or petitions to be inserted into the warrant would be September 5, so that's the latest we would start our meetings. If you would want to do it in August, last week in August or something of that nature, we'll bring that up. That's as we go on. Also, Claire has arranged, as you mentioned, you heard, I'm sorry, my voice was going or something, I apologize. We're doing electronic voting, and apparently she's had a grant, so it's not gonna cost us anything.
Oh, good.
Is able to work that out?
I heard, and she must be off somewhere. She travels off somewhere long, you never know where she is.
Well, she has properties.
Well, up in New Hampshire, yes.
And she also goes to Washington.
Now, and then she's got grandchildren, then she has the, I can't think what they call now, for the group that she and Howie are involved with.
Oh, they do the
Reenactments.
militia, then the recreations.
Reenactments and like,
Yeah,
yes.
reenactments.
Electronic voting is great. We've been doing it 3 years now in Stoughton.
Have they?
Really?
3 or 4. Love it,
Outstanding, great.
yeah.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the reorganization of the FinCom. There's 6 of us here, 7 of us here, that's fine. And so doing, I will, as chair, step down and turn the reorganization over to the vice chair, David. David, if you would please.
Yes, thank you. We'll do our annual reorganization of the committees, which is re-election of the chairman, vice chair, and we have is that all we have is chair and vice chair? We have
We
a
have a
sec-
clerk too, if we want
Clerk.
to. Yeah.
All right. So I'll open this up for nominations for the chair.
I'll nominate Bernie to be the chair.
All right, we have a nomination.
Second.
Bernie, a nomination and a second. All right.
Want to hear my campaign speech? No?
Do we need a speech?
The phone first.
Right,
Less said the better.
that's right. Before he declines to take it, let's all vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
One
1,
abstention.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 and 1. All right. Very good.
David, I nominate you for vice chair.
All right, we have a
I'll second
nomination
that.
for David as vice chair. And we have a second.
Second.
Anyone else? All right, hearing none. Let's vote for all those in favor of David for vice chair.
Aye.
And one abstention. All right. And should we have a clerk?
We do need a clerk. You can do election or vice chair, volunteer. How would you
All right.
like to do it?
Would like a volunteer for clerk?
Stewart's over there shaking his head. I think he's trying to
I'm gone for
communicate
4
something.
months. I feel like I can't do that.
What does the clerk do?
Keeps the roll kind of sketchy of minutes, and keeps us honest.
That's an impossible job.
No, that's the reason Ellis quit, no.
We
But
could
Ellis
leave
was
it-
our clerk
Yeah.
before, so,
We could leave it open with give it some thought.
all right.
I mean, if you leave it open till after July 1st, I mean, that's easy
Maybe-
enough job. I mean, right now,
Maybe we
I'm
can-
technically not.
That's right, we can, well, actually, we could all vote him in right now.
I know how that works. I mean, I've
It
done
would be
minutes for many
unanimous.
things and different things, but
What do you say, Jody? You want it?
All right, let's postpone that for next month.
Okay,
We have a motion to postpone the voting on clerk until next month,
next meeting,
next meeting.
Yes.
All right.
Motion made,
Motion made, second.
second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, since I have completed my function.
Is
I will
it-
turn
Next
it back
month is
to-
now, is August, is that what, we're not having a July meeting?
No, I didn't think so. We'll do that, that'll be this. Just some other matters that have come up. The selectmen have an emergency meeting tomorrow night. Based on their agenda, it doesn't seem that there any, issue stated, so I think they need the agenda, emergency agenda, I beg your pardon, to probably go into executive session.
Well, what it was, there was a petition by Trevor Watson for a liquor license over the weekend. And they weren't quite sure which rooms in the property. I believe this is the property in Onset. He was going to open up some of the rooms and wanted a liquor license. He was going to be providing beer and wine plus sweets and hors d'oeuvres that he was doing.
That would be the one?
So that would be the one,
That was it?
for about
Okay.
four different days. And Trevor was not there, and his representative did not know what part of the house they were going to be opening up for the usage, whether it be the deck.
Is this a red phone?
No, this is, I believe it's an onset. I believe it's his
Yeah.
studio in onset.
Gives ballpark road and concept,
So,
or that is to say,
yeah, they
Fall
needed,
Road.
they needed a diagram too of the layout and with the cables and all that was gonna go.
right, so he was not able to present that to the selectmen last night. So as a consequence, they postponed it, but in order to get it for the 4th of July weekend, they've called a special meeting.
It's a timing issue.
Yes.
It's 12 one-day liquor license.
Right.
Okay, and the only other, thank you, David, I made a presumption because it was emergency and I thought, wow.
Right.
Um,
They're trying to support, they're really making an effort to support our local businesses. And I think that's good that they're willing to do that.
Yeah, good for them, right.
That's a good posture to take.
And the only other thing is I received from the inter-office memorandum from the Board of Selectmen that in preparation for the town report, the section requires written reports be submitted to the Board of Selectmen for inclusion, and that's from each of the boards and commissions required or requested to do that, so I'll have to write up something else, something for that. And that's all I have. Is there anything else anybody wants to bring up? Oh, wait a minute, excuse me. The unemployment. Municipal relief. Now, this was here, sitting there, so sorry I can't give you any background other than what is in the explanation. Apparently, the remaining balance in the account is insufficient to cover what the estimated cost at the end of the fiscal year is, so they're requesting a transfer to the unemployment account, from the unemployment account to cover the remaining year. Transfer to numbers, from numbers, amount requested is $13,000. It's for the FICA. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. Second one is to the Luna account, again, to the account from in the amount of $3,000. Now, this is not coming from our emergency reserve. This is transferring from one account to another. Remaining balance in the account is $5,727. Invoices made went up to approximately $8,300. A transfer is being requested from the unemployment account to cover the June invoice. May I have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? I don't see anything else on our agenda. Any other business? Anybody wishes to bring up? Any questions? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, excuse me, may I ask, the next meeting date? Would you like to wait until the warrant closes, or perhaps meet in the last week of August?
I think we should meet in August.
The last Wednesday in August?
28th.
28th?
When do they have fiscal year 19?
July
Wrap.
1.
It's a wrap, right?
Yes.
July 1.
Yes.
Yeah, so we don't have to wait till the end of August to find out how the year went.
It won't be available.
Well, no, it won't be available then. To close out, they have to wait. Usually they wait for the school side. Okay, last week of August, all those in favor say aye for the last week in August. Last
Aye.
Wednesday in August,
28.
28th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's a vote. Any opposed? There being none, it's unanimous. That being said, motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
Don't be modest, don't be modest.
Second.
Motion's made and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. Thank you very much. Everyone have a good evening and enjoy your summer.
Yes.